it's just things like this that are just like appalling. This woman's dying. What do we have to lose at this point?
Hi babes, Lady Silverstone here, and welcome to my podcast, where we're trying to demystify cannabis, one conversation at a time. In this episode, we're talking about how we can elevate other people's voices, fact-checking our own information, and a minivan with our guest today. She's the driven founder of MJ Lifestyle, a cannabis fine art magazine that highlights inspirational women in the industry. She's also a talented, intimate portrait artist in California, making beautiful pictures for fashion magazines like Nylon and business ones like Forbes. Let's welcome Jennifer. I hope you enjoy it. Hi there.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm well. I mean, as well as I can be, considering America's just
upside down.
Yeah, just awful. Growing up, never would have thought that this was how so much of our country is. It's just unfathomable. My kids, trying to teach my kids, and they're like, "What?" And so it's definitely, it's good to bring up the conversation, and it's good that we're making change, and we just have to stay with it and make sure that it doesn't, because this has definitely happened before, and then it just kind of glazes over. So we have to just make sure that we're, I think it's important for us as white people to be aware that, it's not fair that Black people are fighting this fight by themselves. They're the ones that are the minority. They're the ones that are fighting for their lives, and it is up to us to protect them. So yeah, it's been really, really, really awful, basically.
You, with like such a big platform, you're able to really bring people together and put this in the forefront, which is amazing. Not everyone can do that, obviously.
But that's also like a lot to bear also. You want to make sure that you are projecting the right verbiage, the right momentum. A lot of us, I want to really just kind of empower people with what to do, instead of kind of saying, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, because it starts to get kind of really muddied waters. And all I want to do is help and do things. And so with MJ, that's really kind of why we started it in the beginning. Since cannabis has been criminalized, the Black and brown communities have been severely impacted by the war on drugs at a far higher rates than any other nationality. We want to represent every woman, that exists. So it's really important for us to, it's easy to find white women in the industry, because they haven't been scared, they haven't risked their lives, they haven't lost, family members. So it's for us, it's important. So yeah, and it's just wanting to make sure that we're continuing that, and we're being aware of that, and aware of the way that the messages that we are projecting.
I have so many questions for you, and a lot of these things to bring up as well. And just something I wanted to say when you said that you don't like to say don't do this and don't do that, and that you want to give people options instead. That is the key, because also these don'ts, even for someone that might be very biased and ignorant from the beginning, they are still very obvious in a way. Do you see what I mean? Like, don't treat people differently,
Yeah. Well, also, I'm not necessarily one to educate, I'm being educated just as much as, as much as the rest of the nation is right now, and yes, it's important to me. And yes, this is something that I have continually, this has always been in the forefront of my mind, but you know what, even I haven't been loud enough. So I think it is about, I don't want to be divisive in like, you're not doing enough and you're not, or you're doing it the wrong way. I want to just project, hey, let's do this. Here, you could help this, you could help this, you could help this. I was even on a call yesterday, and my guest had reminded, she had kind of, mentioned three great foundations to contribute to, that I had forgotten to kind of spread about, so it was like, I'm so grateful that we have to continue to, because there are so many resources out there that, that we have. And so it's like, we just, we can't expect those to be given. We need to search for them. So it's been really, I love seeing the uproar. I love seeing the momentum, and I just really hope it maintains and we make some actual change.
I do feel that this is the year we might really, really change some stuff, like from the base. Because like you say, this is not the first time. This has been a problem since, millennia, and all around the world. That's the nasty part when it comes to racism itself. Then like the police brutality, of course that exists as well everywhere, but that is something that is really, I would say, when I think of police brutality, I directly think of the US, which is really unfortunate. Even though it exists in other countries, the US really is it's really in the forefront in a very ugly way when it comes to that.
Yeah, and the Black community has been targeted. From being a child, you're targeted, and there's just it's just not okay. It's completely unacceptable. And just the fact that, and there's so many things wrong. We can go on for years on how much is wrong, but just the fact that, that police officers were not being tried. The fact that they were able to either be put on suspension or maybe even not at all, or just move to another place. That's absurd. And so it's just, there's so many things that are wrong. Even cannabis. Cannabis taxes. Why are cannabis taxes going to funding towards the police? They're the ones that have been breaking down the system. Yeah. So it's just, it needs to go towards rehabilitating. It needs to go towards research. It needs to go towards rehabilitating our communities that this drug war has left in pieces. I
had no idea that money went to funding the police. I had no idea. It doesn't surprise me.
It goes to a few different places, but California alone, I think it was $1 billion in the past 3 years. And that's $1 billion that is just found money that just came out of nowhere that they never expected to get. And that should be rebuilding our resources. And I don't mean by doing regentrification and kicking everybody out. That's not what I mean about putting the money back into our communities.
What can be done? Like, what do you see could be done on a national level that would include all this? I don't know. I know that in the US it's very hard because every state is very, very individual, right?
All of us are super individual. And so that's why even it's hard to even know sometimes what's going on in the other states. It's everything is changing so quickly. I was talking to somebody yesterday and I was like, and they were a California brand. And I'm like, isn't it true that in Colorado, and she's like, I don't know. We're just focused on California because you can't keep up. But I think if just money is going towards these foundations that are doing good. The cannabis community has connected me to so many incredible women and men, mostly women. And so we do have the magazine itself. I'm a one woman entity. Everybody that contributes as a volunteer. This is very much a community-powered magazine. I'm at like $0. It's, I haven't made that jump towards investors, and I'm just fighting to survive. And then all this happens, and it's even worse for all of our brands and our community. But so, one of the things I've been able to do with this community is have these other resources and find these resources. So on our website, we just started putting a whole list of so many different places that you can put your dollars towards, or write letters, send emails. Because it's the laws that have to change. It's that's where we have to change, and it's the people that need to get louder. Us. So. And I've never gone to the Capitol. I've never spoken on behalf of cannabis. It's and that's something I need to do. I do speak of it. But I want to do more too. So, but I also take the journalist approach where I am sharing those stories. So I am sharing, the stories of the women who are working towards changing those laws,
Same here. That's why I'm talking to you.
Oh, yeah. So it's a cool thing. It's like, I want to do everything, but also I have to understand that, listen, there are people doing all these amazing things. Like, let's amplify their voices. And yes, I can still do more, but, also I want to, I think it's like almost being like self-employed for so long. I'm a photographer by trade, so I had a really successful photography business, but I was a do-it-yourself. I did everything, and so it's like you just kind of have that mentality, and it's like, okay, this is not doing everything. This is a community, and we're really trying to elevate everybody's voices and really just create. I really just feel like cannabis in itself, with the uproar that it brings, with the intention that it brings, with the consciousness that it brings, with the fact that I really feel that women in the industry really bring that nurturing side to it. And I've always felt that it will be women that change the world. So it's really kind of like it all kind of goes together. I mean, cannabis in itself, hemp, I mean, it could change so much for our climate. It could do so much for our world and our whole well-being. And sometimes I don't understand why we're still upholding these laws that were made so long ago that don't have anything to do with life today.
It's like, why wouldn't we look ourselves in the mirror after 70 years? No, it's more, right?
We had 90 years of it being illegal.
But in other lives, we say that you have to look yourself in the mirror. Now it's been 1 year that you're acting this way or whatever. But no, here we have a whole system with millions of people just falling under the rug.
And we still have a lot of Black and brown people getting arrested for cannabis in legal states still.
That is something that is so crazy.
It's just ridiculous. I mean, imagine if they stopped caring about weed, they'd probably have obviously they'd have way less arrests. So maybe we wouldn't need as many cops. I mean, I could just gabble, and sometimes I speak nonsense because I just get a little bit caught up in my mind and fury.
Yes. I think it's also because I think when you're in the industry and when you talk to so many people, just like you having like your live chats and stuff, and you meet people that have their own stories, you get so upset because every time you hear new stuff, there's many things that you know that are like general, like pretty nasty practices when it comes to both like the drugs policy and how it's all, even now in like you say, like legal states and within, let's say, dispensaries, how it's even there very unequal.
Oh yeah, I was actually just speaking with somebody, and that's the thing. I have so many stories in my head. Like literally, I've had two-hour webinars and one live chat in the past less than 48 hours.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I'm like crazy.
But that's perfect. I'm getting you in the perfect moment then.
Yeah, I've like got a lot in my mind. Okay, so wait, what was I going to say? What were you just saying? Sorry.
Shit, the dispensaries.
Oh, so I was just saying that, or somebody was just telling me that there's counties that only allow so we have, and it's not a great system, but at least we have something right now with equity systems. But at one point, the counties were only allowing them to be in certain spots. How is that fair? There's just so much from so many different angles.
So for example, like you could not have a dispensary like in the middle of the city. You had to have it on like a back street or? Yeah,
like maybe the way it was presented to me was like maybe it was either in like a neighborhood that maybe really was kind of priced out of, well, first of all, legal cannabis is so expensive that in itself to me is like not accessible for everybody. So that alone is number one. But so it could be in a community that can't afford legal cannabis, where like legal cannabis might not be like, still they're definitely going towards more of the legacy market, or be packed with a whole bunch of others, in the same, like on the same street with a whole bunch of, so it's like, it's not allowing, it's not giving an even playing field for, any business owner to go and choose where they want to be, and obviously it's not just as easy as choosing where you want to be. Like the place has to be, available, but, I mean, it's just these limitations, and especially with the legal cannabis industry, every single little tiny change just costs hundreds and thousands of dollars for them, just even in packaging, where suddenly, and then on top of that, how sustainable is packaging, so it's like, and you can't buy, and so it's like, say you're like preparing a product, it's like the more you buy, the cheaper it is, right? Well, if you have to know that they're going to change packaging in such out, days, who knows? And sometimes we would have to wait until after they change the law to even know the packaging.
Does that only apply to the cannabis business, or does it apply to other businesses as well?
I don't know, as far as like regulatory, like where, obviously people don't want, a dispensary next to a school. It's just very gray everywhere you go. And so that's why we just have to keep being loud and keep sharing stories and really just open people's eyes to really what's going on, because most people don't know, and I learn stuff every day, and I'm living and breathing this.
And that's the thing, we have to stop being like scared of not knowing. Do you see what I mean? We're all ignorant towards so many things, and ignorance is only bad if you are still like presented with the fact, and yet you're still on your, opinion or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Well, you don't know what you don't know, right? So and that's why it's important. Like even for me, with having so many of these conversations in person like this, has really opened my eyes to what I need to present, like how much more I need to get out there, so it's, and, even just like from a perspective of a consumer's perspective of, how to know, how to know if a CBD hemp company is safe to use or not, because CBD isn't regulated at all. So it's not that we're against regulations. We absolutely know that regulations are necessary. The problem is that they're uneducated regulations. The lawmakers that are making them are not educated, and truly our nation is not educated. And the science is facts. You can't deny the science about what cannabis can do for so many things. And no, it's not always visible right away. It is easiest to see in like an epileptic patient, or like Parkinson's, where you can see it almost
kind of instantly. Yeah.
Seizures, you don't see instantly. Seizures is more preventative from my understanding, but we've been denied research for so long that there still needs to be so much research. So that is where a lot of the tax dollars should be going, so that we can actually get this FDA approved, so that we can get this safe access for everyone. There's no reason why cannabis companies should be dealing with cash only. There's no reason why. I mean, could you imagine having that much cash on you at any time? That is dangerous. And, at times there were laws where you couldn't cultivate at the same place where you grew. And so it was like you had to transport. There's just crazy, or there's just different things. And so it's a really hard industry, really hard landscape to tackle. Very, very challenging. I question it every day. I literally had a breakdown the other day just because, this is going on 3 years, and I work so hard, and I know that the content and the stories and the voices that I'm amplifying are amazing. I know that they are of highest of quality. I know the imagery is of highest of quality. I know that the information is relevant, and I know that people need to have this information. The hard part is odds are all against me. Even with 30,000 followers on Instagram, I'm lucky if I get 100 likes, because I'm so shadow banned. You get shadow banned for being too provocative with anything, with cannabis. Even with Black Lives Matter, they started shadowing stuff. That could be conspiracy theory, maybe. I don't have money to pay for a lot of advertising. So, like Instagram and Facebook allows you to do little bits of promotions here and there. We can't do that. Google lets you do a certain amount of money here, there. You can't do that. Last year, you could do it for CBD. This year, they're like, we understand this is upsetting, but, no CBD, no hemp, nothing.
Not even hemp. You cannot even talk about hemp textile, for example.
No, so they did approve. So I do have like a LinkedIn on my Instagram, where it's not the LinkedIn, I think it's Linktree, but you could have all those different links that you put on. So what I did do was create a Google ad that would link to that and just called it Plant Wellness. But I just feel like that could be just money out the door. But that's where community comes in, Our brands don't have the brands we want to support don't have a lot of money right now. I mean, for obvious reasons. So advertising dollars are very, very slim. So it's just, it's like, Jen, what the hell did you do? But at the same time, and my husband was like, listen, he's like, he kind of sat me down and he's like, listen, as far as I'm concerned, this is your third business and your last two were extremely successul. He's like, but your passion faded. He's like, and as long as you're passionate about what you do, you're going to be great. You're doing it. But this doesn't happen overnight. And I think it's so important for us to constantly remind ourselves that it doesn't happen overnight. Like you can't get from A to Z without going to B, C, D, and then back, because maybe I made a mistake. So yeah, it's been, it's just hard. And then seeing just everything else fall apart. It's hard. It's hard to watch.
It is hard to watch, especially when it's people that that are living in maybe worse conditions, that are, I don't know, maybe whose brands are shut down or whatever it might be.
Yes, I'm fortunate. My husband has a great job that he's been with for 13 years, where he feels secure and where he can help me with this because, I'm just barely keeping my head above water. There's no, I was telling one lady one time, I was talking to her, I was like, look, I don't need to make $1 million. I just need to break even. And she goes, how old are you? And I said, and at the time I was 40, I was like, I'm 42. And she goes, well, just wait until you're 50. Wait until you've been working 10 years for this shit. You're going to be needing that $1 million. She's like, start working for that $1 million now. And I was like, that's a very valid, very good point. It was like, we aren't doing this for free. I do need to survive. I would like to at some point be able to, go shopping. I would love to go shopping. That's definitely a privilege. And that's definitely something that, my success was able to afford me in the past. And I just would like that again. That was a therapy for me. But
yeah, I hear you. I totally hear you.
And even working out, even going to the gym, I, cut down on my gym membership. It's just everything. I'm just like, cut everything. Yeah. And I'm not complaining. I'm working so hard that I hope that I can get there one day, that we can and I don't even care about, like I said, I didn't care about the money. It's just, I just want to do something, I just want to do something great for this fucking world. Like I've always, and it was so funny because I've always felt oppressed with my cannabis consumption. I've always been very, of course, with my stoner buddies, that it was cool, but with the rest of the world, trying to be a professional, businesswoman, artist, I was a wedding photographer. And I did some really amazing high-end weddings. And the last thing I wanted them to think was that I was like an irresponsible stoner, quote, what the stigma was. And so I really I hid from that a lot. And it really took a girlfriend really pushing me to say, I think you need to get into this because obviously you love it. And consciously consumption is really kind of what we're all about, and understanding what works for your body and understanding that there's something different for everybody, and this is a tool, and it's a tool. It's not a cure. This is a tool that works with so many other, it's just like synergistically, whatever the hell that word is, works with so many other elements and botanicals and just adaptogens. And it's just really just, and there's no side effects. So, it's like we've got our next issues on motherhood, deep into designing and writing. And so I've got this one story about this issue's heavy. It's not just about being a mom. It's about kind of everything that makes us a mom before even we are a mom, whether we're a mom or not. Women are innately kind of nurturing mothers, whether it's to our cat, our dog, our child, our magazine, our business, whatever it is. So it's really just kind of about that. And there's so many stories of survival, but there's also a story of death in there. It's upsetting that we don't have the medical industry behind us yet, because there's so many people suffering. And in this one instance, the woman was able to get in her cancer situation, she was able to get a federal trial. But for her to do this trial, they basically made her sign that she wouldn't use cannabis or CBD. Mind you, she's on a basket of pharmaceutical drugs, one thing fixing the other thing, fixing the other thing, fixing the other thing. It's just things like this that are just like appalling. This woman's dying. What do we have to lose at this point? So yeah, there's like I said, we've gone through a million things. I don't even think you've asked me anything. I've just like spewed it all out.
Sorry for interrupting. I hope you enjoy listening so far. Please check out my account Lady Silverstone at patreon.com so I can continue creating cannabis content for you. Do you know what? I'm gonna let you continue because my question is gonna be, who is Jennifer outside like the cannabis? Like, what did you do before? Where did you grow up? What did you think about cannabis before? All those things.
Well, it's funny you say that because my husband says that if I wasn't attached to my computer, he doesn't know where I would be. But I grew up very suburban, very middle class, very privileged neighborhood. My parents still live here to this day. So they've been in the same house for 42 years. Two hardworking parents. I'm the oldest of three kids. I prayed, and I had a brother, my best friend, he was my brother, 2 years younger than me. And then I prayed and hoped for a baby, and I would I'd hold my baby doll every night. And I would say, okay, I'd tell myself, I was like a 6-year-old little girl, okay, if I hold her all night long and don't let go, maybe she'll turn into a real baby. She didn't. But I remember the day that my parents called us down the hallway and were laying on the floor and said, we have something to tell you. And they had a bun in the oven. And so I knew from there it was a girl. And so, yeah, at 7.5, I had my first baby, Lindsay. So she's amazing. And she's still my baby. But actually, it's been kind of cool because there is a good 8 years between us. So it's always been a mother-daughter type motherly relationship, never really competitive. Kind of both of us know our place. But now that our lives have gotten, closer in just like the time frame, like she's married, she has children. We're more like a sister relationship than a mother-daughter. Sometimes I try to get my bossiness in there, but it's I live a mile from both my brother and my sister and my parents. So I'm just very, very, it's a little bit out of the norm, but I'm super grateful that we have such a close relationship. Outside of that, I've been obsessed with photography my entire life. I photographed weddings, boudoir, cookbook covers, taught boudoir, lots of different things.
Did it start when you were already young that you liked to take pictures?
Yes. I actually wanted to go to the Academy of Art. My parents said no. And so I said, okay, then I'm going to go to school and get a marketing degree so I could sell my photography. And so I did that. And it actually was a great thing that I did because I really believe the marketing degree is what helped me be so successful with my photography, with branding myself specifically, and even branding myself here with MJ. So I'm really grateful. I have friends. I also have a brother who went to the Academy of Art, and they're still paying off loans. So I am very grateful that I, and that's a whole other situation that's totally messed up. Even our doctors are still paying off loans, and it's really hard for, it's just a lot of stuff. Sorry, I'm in California. I was a waitress for 10 years. I love serving people. I love making people happy. I actually met my husband as his waitress. And then after my marketing degree, so I was a waitress, and him and his best friend would come in. They worked together. They would come in every day for lunch. And so whatever. And he was older than me. He was like 6 years older than me, which, when you're in your early 20s, that's kind of a lot. But when you're in your older 20s, that's nothing. So I wasn't really into him at the time. But when I graduated from my marketing class, I used to do a lot of marketing stuff for the restaurant, so they could see my talent, I guess. And so they offered me a job, and I actually almost didn't take it because I wanted to pursue photography. But I wasn't in the best relationship at the time. And I was like, you know what? My parents were like, oh my God, this is a real job. Yeah, go for it. Because that meant real, like art and photography, not real. So anyway, I devoted my life to that company for 4 years. And it was a great experience. And I actually was able to learn a lot of owning my own business. And I was able to work a lot and build my portfolio up. So, at the same time. So I actually quit after 4 years and went and pursued photography full time after that. And my husband had quit a year before I did. So, but he had been there like 11 years prior. So, but we fell in love at some point. He was not my boss. Just everybody to know that for sure. He was not my boss.
He was not my boss. Just need to clarify.
But we definitely fell in love. I think maybe a year after I started working there, maybe 2 years after. And basically, we were both in really bad relationships. My boyfriend was a stoner who didn't want to do anything. Like, he was super talented. He was a great writer. I actually would try to write. I'd like draft him up like great looking writers things to go, whatever. And he just didn't want to do it, and so that was hard, because I'm super driven. And I think the same was similar to my husband. He kind of had a girl who wanted to buy him everything, and really just needed a lot of his attention. And so, him and I are both super independent. So I think like we would just be working late at night because that's just what we do. And I think really I developed this big respect for him, and for the way he carries himself at work, how professional he was. And he ended up just becoming a really good friend. And I mean, we were good friends already, but an even closer friend. And so then, one thing led to another after we had gotten out of those relationships.
Did someone ask the other one out, or? Well,
I had gotten out of a really bad relationship. It got really, really, really bad. Very emotionally abusive, and then it was funny, I actually was thinking about that last night. It almost got physical to where I had a fist raised to me. So I got out of that. So I was out of it for I think a month or two. He ended up getting out of his, but we didn't really talk about it before that. It just happened. I think he was like, oh shit, she's single. I better get the hell out of this. Cause I started getting asked out on dates. It was weird. I'd never gotten asked out on dates in my life. And somebody pulled me over and got my number. Cause I don't know. I had red lipstick. I don't even know. But anyway, so Scott's like,
well, girl, my
husband was like, what, you gave him your number? I'm like, it's my office phone. I don't know. It's like, whatever. So, but he had, so anyway, he had ended up, getting out of his relationship. And I think at one time, at some point after that, we must have hooked up or something, but I remember telling him, I know you just got out of a relationship. I know you might want to go and sow some oats. I just want to let you know, I just don't stay single that long. So who the hell says that? And it's like, how you have all these, you have these conversations in your mind, and it never really goes the way you think the way you hope he responds, right?
Yeah.
And he responded with, no, I know what I want. And I was like, me?
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it's pretty awesome.
Nice.
And from that day on, I mean, we've just been a really great team. We're very different. We thought we were super alike back then, but we're super different. I'm a slob. He's got OCD. So we're very different.
Yeah, that's what you notice after a few years. You're like, damn, is this you? Is this really who you are? Didn't see that in the beginning.
Oh no, he saw it. He saw my desk at the office.
Oh, but yes, of course. And you just thought it was tidy.
I'm operate in a organized mess, maybe. Yeah, maybe that's what it's called.
I am completely like, I know where everything is, but it just looks mad.
But so, and aside from that, the only other thing that makes me a little different is I am my kids' coaches. So I coach soccer and Little League.
Ooh, wow. So you're super duper busy.
Yes, it's kind of like the only way I operate. And it's kind of funny because in the last several weeks, since I stopped doing the lives, and since we've kind of wanted to quiet, white voices down, especially, and that wasn't really, it didn't really have anything to do with me, but it meant I'm not doing FaceTime on like live, hey guys, blah, 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 blah type of thing. And I'm not having to get up and get ready and get presentable and put myself in that positive energy. So it's been like, and I really just kind of came to that conclusion last night or the other night when I broke down to my husband. I was like, it's almost like when I had that set schedule of having to get ready and having to be presentable and having to kind of be happy and also getting to speak with people, I suddenly shut down and I wasn't communicating with people as much, because I was, educating and all of us were just internalizing a lot of just hate that we were seeing, online and just everywhere, and it's just, and it hurts, and it obviously I will never know how it feels to be a woman of color, but it still hurts me. So I can only kind of imagine how bad it hurts, and so it's I think it's just kind of being in that kind of downtime and not having a regular schedule, not doing anything for yourself, where you're just like, okay, getting dressed and being active, and we don't have sports, so I'm not taking the kids to school. I'm not coaching them. And it's like, so yeah, I have been feeling really down. And I think I do like to be in my huddle, but I absorb energy from people, and it's so yeah, it's interesting to kind of find that, and when you had said, oh, don't worry about it. It's just me and you on video. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get dressed and showered anyway, because maybe that's going to just kind of ignite me to feel better and do more. And, maybe I will pop my face onto Instagram or something, just to,
as you're already on it.
Yeah. Not wanting, I'm not trying to make a victim out of myself or anything like that, but just a real human story.
No, of course not. Yeah. That's what I want to hear anyway.
I need that energy. I miss coaching the kids. For me growing up, I mean, one, being a stoner was a bad thing. Two, being a soccer mom was also like a negative thing.
You're like ticking both boxes, cha-ching.
and then I'm like, dude, fuck that. As long as I don't have a minivan, I'm good. So and no offense to anybody if you have a minivan. I'm just kidding.
You would surely love that as well. Who knows?
I would love the automatic doors. I know. But my car, I don't have any money to be spending.
Well, when in 10 years, when that million is there.
Exactly. I'm obsessed with coaching. I never really, it was funny because I was like, gosh, I'm so busy. How can I commit to something like this? And the minute I did, it was like, you're so busy at everything you do, you can commit to something like this, and this is going to bring you so much joy. And it really has. And it brings me closer to my kids and my kids' families and their friends. I can picture them growing. I can picture us growing up together, and it's just really, it's really cool and really magical.
So nice. How long have you been doing that?
2 or 3 years. But also, what's also great is all of the families, everybody I know, including my principal of my school, knows what I do. So I am completely open with everything, and they're accepting of what I do.
That must feel so nice.
Amazing. Once again, we're in California, so duh. But really, you don't know. You really don't know. And I still have friends that maybe they're in just different kind of communities that are just like, oh my God, I could never mention cannabis in front of them. They're just like, oh, or whatever. I don't even know. But, and it's like, okay. I've been so lucky and grateful to have just really open-minded neighbors and friends and community, basically.
Yeah, and the school that everyone knows it. I mean, that's amazing for you to not have to deal with that.
Well, and I think that's the problem. I think like some parents are scared that because if you are like a person who's going to judge somebody, maybe you won't let your kid play with their kid or something. You know what I mean? And it's like, and there's still so many concerns about parents and other people knowing. I mean, there's still people calling CPS on people for smoking weed. So, and to each its own. I mean, I consume alone. I don't consume with my children in front of me, but I'm not against that. And don't get me wrong, I do vape when they don't see me. Okay. So it's like around the corner. They're such a young age. I don't want them to think I'm smoking. They're not ready to absorb what the difference between like smoking cannabis or what, nicotine. And I just don't want them, I'm just not ready to really introduce that. We've definitely introduced the medicine aspect of it, shown them every part of it. I just haven't shown them the smoking part of it.
Okay, but that's probably good. When they are mature enough to understand, okay, so it looks similar to people that smokes a cigarette, but it is different.
Yeah. I mean, they will find out. It was so funny. One of my best friends, I don't even think he knows that his kids know, but I was talking to them and they're in college now, but they're like, oh yeah, we found Dad's vape. It's so like, okay. It's so, yeah. Well, Dad doesn't know they found it, but, and it's funny because it's like, it's so common for them. But that is what's scary is that what the kids are vaping are from the illicit market.
Oh, yeah, because they cannot get it.
No, there's no way that they're paying a legal price. There's no way. Well, I guess there could be. And now that so many stuff, I guess there could be. I'm totally going into my own thoughts right here. Well, okay, first let me say that we're taxed about 35% for cannabis. So it's extremely expensive. Every $100 worth of cannabis, you're spending $35 in tax. So there's that. So I don't know how much these kids are spending on their vape pens, but there was a study in San Diego where a dispensary did a promo. They kind of did something with, they collaborated with a lab and they said, all right, have people bring in their illicit market vapes. We will trade it in for a legal vape that we know is safe, and we're going to test this illicit market. 78% of those vapes from the illicit market were deemed not safe for human consumption.
Oh, shit.
So for me, that is the scariest thing about our kids vaping cannabis. Well, vaping anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, especially with, everything that happened with the vaping and
last year.
Yeah, it's so scary. And so, vaping flower is definitely the safest. I do vape oil out of convenience. I also vape, but I also do everything else. But I do vape. But it's all legal cannabis.
Yeah, and you also know where it comes from.
Yes.
Those kids are probably not asking for a third party lab test. Yeah.
Oh no, absolutely not. And the other thing is, and this is a whole other kind of dynamic of what's going on with us here at least in California. I'm not sure about other states, but with the protests that have been happening, some organized crime has decided to take advantage of that situation and professionally rob with full masks, big weapons, and robbing. They've robbed at least 40 to 45 dispensaries and manufacturers.
Oh, damn. Is it possible then to trace them somehow?
That's what I'm wondering. But I mean, and that goes back to it being a cash business, and that's what makes it hard. And yes, don't get me wrong. There are places that have, people do have, I think it's like local, it's not a bank, like a reserve or whatever. I can't think of what they're called. Local unions, I think like a banking union that people do. But as far as I know, most dispensaries are cash or like debit based. So you can imagine how much cash is on hand. And I believe they pay in cash too. I actually just did a photo shoot, in which I do a lot of photo shoots, but I rarely get paid now because they're mostly for the magazine. But I got paid for this one, and I was like, "Thank you so much." But anyway, he comes out with a wad of cash, and he's like, "We deal in cash." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. Everybody does, And so it was just like, but it's so scary because it's just like, knowing that you've got that much cash on hand or whatever, payday,
And that's the thing. People know that the cannabis business is like that. So it's such a target. That's the thing.
It just continues to be mind-boggling, really. It's so flawed. It's so flawed.
Dear listeners, if you like what you hear, please check out my Patreon. The link is in the description here below. Only if you're able to, of course. Now, let's get back to our guest. As you are just in this talking to so many people, you have so much input, which I am just so happy to listen to. And also because, here in Europe, we're not really close to where you guys are yet. Which is, but I guess what you guys are doing, we will see what works, what doesn't. Yeah,
I kind of wish that, like California, I wish we had taken some more steps probably before going to adult, because adult is when we went rec is what really kind of affected things pretty significantly. I believe that Colorado and possibly one other state are actually going back and changing the way they started things, because with medical versus adult. Because one of the things about medical, and I don't have the answers. I don't know the answers about how it should be structured. But one of the significant problems with medical, well, there's a lot of problems with medical, but is that the adult market made it be a certain dosage. They started limiting the dosage. So, but for some severe medical conditions, that dosage needs to be way higher. And so that alone, and that's not legal yet, to have that high of a dose. So we need to be able to have that prescribed, in those types of situations. We also need, we obviously need our medical care to be supporting this. The fact that they're not in on this science and that they're not hip on this is just also mind-boggling. Education is the number one thing. And that's what we keep coming back to.
That's the only thing we can do. And because if we put that out, that's the ground we're standing on. And that is everything. It's everything in this field.
Also, this whole pandemic thing has changed everything as far as digital. Like, I've never done this much stuff before. And I've also never been this happy seeing faces and being able to talk to people, So it's been one of those underlying silver linings, those little gifts that you get out of horror. It was just really special to, have another family. And I was like, oh, you're coming with me. I'm putting you in my pocket and you're coming. So it was like motherhood. This motherhood issue has been, when we started the magazine, it was supposed to be, we knew it was going to be, okay. I think the second one was supposed to be motherhood, and we ended up shifting because we weren't ready. And so the second one was creatives. We've had 3. So we had, the first one was coming out green. And the great thing is these are all still very relevant. These aren't going out of date, all of the research is still there. All of the stories are still very, very real. And the experiences. So that's what's also really cool about it. But so the first one was coming out green. The second one, and that featured Chelsea Leyland on the cover.
Oh, yes, I've seen that one.
Yes, yeah. So she has epilepsy, but she's also an amazing, epilepsy does not define her, but she speaks a lot about it, obviously. And then she's an amazing, very talented DJ, but she's also getting a lot into being a sexual wellness advocate as well. So she's freaking remarkable, amazing woman. And then our second issue we had was our creatives issue, and we had Go Fit Joe on the cover. And Go Fit Joe is a personal friend of mine that I know from the wedding industry, who kind of transitioned from the wedding industry to being kind of body positive and getting into life coaching, and really is setting a new standard for loving our bodies. And she just came out like a week ago or a week and a half ago about having a polyamorous relationship. So that is also really empowering and really exciting to kind of learn about. And I'm just really grateful for, her platform and her voice, and sharing that. So it's
so important that we talk about those things as well, because I think a lot of people are sitting with shame.
It's really not anybody else's business. You know what I mean? It's like, I can get into it too with abortion. It just makes me so mad. It's not your business, So, and if people want to love, what is wrong with loving people? What is wrong with loving people,
And want to be intimate. That's the most human thing if you think about it.
Yeah. We're living a lot longer than, they used to live when they wrote the Bible. So
exactly.
I've never really come up with that one.
But that was a really good one.
That's a really good one.
Definitely. Yeah, before, life stopped at like 45, If you were lucky, I guess, even. Before you died like at 20 of a toothache.
Totally. And I think it's easy for, you can go in and out of flux so easy with a partner. And I think like what I really respected about her opening up about it was, and she had kind of already opened up about having some marital challenges, but really kind of going deeper into their relationship and talking about, how they feel about certain things. And I think she had already said, like, I've always kind of thought monogamy wasn't for me, like monogamy really shouldn't really exist. But she got married 20 years ago when she was really young, and the great thing is, instead of them having an open marriage, and sneaking or hiding or, not talking to each other. Because depending on what open marriages are, everybody has a different marriage, or cheating, we found somebody that we love. And actually, I haven't talked to her. So I'm not sure of the dynamics. I've only gotten to absorb and then text her a couple things. But so she had said on her Instagram, because she's like, if you have questions, ask me or read my stories. So she's an open book. She's a woman in progress.
Dude, I really need this Instagram.
Okay. Oh, it's Go Fit Joe. GoFitJo. Go Fit Joe. So she said, so here it is. I've been married. I've been in a relationship with John for 20 years, and I've been in a relationship with Chris for 2 years. So, and there were pictures. So I don't know if it's just her with, I don't know the dynamics yet, but I will find out. But I think everybody wants to know, and I think it's cool to be open and about it. I have had 3 friends who have had their children recently open up about being either pansexual, gay or something just out of the something that's not normal, and it's so powerful, and I'm so inspired by our kids. And, it's like, God, I wish I was, sometimes I wish I was more brave when I was that age, not that I would have made different, I would have made different choices in sticking up for more people, I think, or myself, and I think not that I would be any different now or in a different place, but I would be different now. But I just mean, I wish I had that strength. I wish I had that confidence and that reassurance from my parents. I told her, I said, what a remarkable job you've done for your children to, be open and feel honest and feel okay and feel proud. Not even just okay, but proud.
Teenage years is like hard as it is. It's really tough time.
It's so hard. It's so hard. And love is so hard. Love is hard. The emotions are harder than, when you get older, love ain't the same. It's just not. It's deeper. But it's not as like
that thing where you cannot eat. Yeah.
Hormones.
Yeah. When you feel nauseous for 2 months, you're like, oh. Well, we all know that feeling, But I don't know if I could deal with that now. I'm like, I would feel sick, Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. So Go Fit Joe was on our second one, and I'm just really proud of her. I'm just proud of her platform, and I'm proud that we got to have her in our magazine. And then also our last issue was our cannabis policy and social justice issue. And we had Nina Parks on the cover. And Nina Parks has been a huge social justice advocate. She is all over the place. She is one badass woman. I got to photograph her in San Francisco. It's kind of doing her thing.
Oh, is it the one, the girl that has very dark hair? Beautiful photos.
Yes, with the wind. And so she just came out with her line of bud, which is, I don't have it yet. She's trying to, I think she sold out. Like one of the dispensaries got robbed and they didn't take her box. So her, like, it was like magic. And it's called Gift of Doja. And it is so cool. She's starting small with just one strain right now, but it's really sweet. She's created it so that like with the jar on the cap, it's like the label is like a place for you to like write your intention for like who you're giving the bud to. It's so sweet. It's so sweet. So yeah, I got to talk to her recently, and she's just the greatest. This industry has brought me to a whole world of women, and even more just beyond cannabis, but into wellness, and really just bridging the gap between cannabis and wellness is really kind of what CBD helps do. But we still have so much education, even on the hemp CBD side. So it's really, but also, yeah, behind the scenes, the social justice aspect of it, most of the world doesn't know about. So that's why it's so important for us to be, or maybe they know about it, but maybe it's not in the forefront of their mind. Maybe they're just not really aware. And so, you really want to kind of bring it out and say, look, this is what's happening. This is what some people are doing. If you're sitting at home and don't know what to do, follow this person. You can do this. There's so much you can do. Even if you don't have money, there's so much you can do. So I'm really grateful to, be able to start creating this platform. It's hard because it's like I get so many amazing compliments on the stuff that we do. And like, sometimes, I don't know, it's like, it's a little gushy sometimes, like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. And then, but all I feel inside is like, of course I'm proud, but all I keep thinking is it's almost like imposter syndrome, that you have. Like, I'm just like, if you only knew how hard I'm struggling, if you only knew how hard this was inside. And I mean, everything's hard. I'm not trying to like, oh, woe's me, but like, I want at some point, I am so proud. I'm so proud and I'm so grateful to be here. But at some point I have to just be like, we're making moves, because I just feel like I'm so blocked, like, yes, we got up to 30,000 followers, but we're shrinking. We're losing followers because we're not being seen, like, or robots or whatever. I don't even know, and it's becoming more of a thing where.
And it's so hard to get to know that information because it's not accessible to us, right? Right.
Well, and it's hard for me to get the information to you, so, and especially if Instagram's cock blocking me all the time, what am I supposed to do? So to me, it's how are we elevating these voices, and how do we, it's like people sometimes think that we're making a ton of money and we're doing great in business. We're not making a ton of money. I'm doing this all grassroots, bootstraps. I designed my entire website. Every single thing is done, by hand. And, even things like, I even was thinking, gosh, I have so much content just between all the last three conversations I had, and I don't even have time to put that into something that people can, you know what I mean? It's like, you do know what I mean.
I know exactly, because then you need like 2.5 days to just like sit and edit and do it, and you're like, I don't have that time. And where will you, like, how will you get someone to do that for you if you don't? You see what I mean? Like, I would love to have someone to help me, like, maybe edit some of my podcasts, but I mean, of course, I don't want to have someone do that for free because I know everyone needs money. I also need to pay my rent.
I know, but you can't afford it. I can't afford it. I had somebody that wanted to help do my music, and I'm like, I can't afford it. I can't, and I don't really ask for things. I basically I'm full transparency, and I'm like, look, we're basically community powered, and I mean, we we're just working really hard, and so I'm just hopeful that at some point we are able to really make a change and really get these voices heard, It's not about me. I mean, I want to be able to afford this, but ultimately down the line, we're going to need investors. I am a business person because of what I'm doing, but I'm not trained in asking for investing. You know what I mean? Like,
I think that feels scary as well. I'm like, should someone else then have like something to say in my business?
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing. How much power are you willing to give up? To where to where they're suddenly saying, because a lot of investors they make their decisions on how much money they're going to make. So if suddenly you have not suddenly, but there's brands we're not going to work with. We are only going to work and support with brands that we believe in and that are ethically, making, socially responsible decisions, sustainable decisions, all of this stuff that are contributing to society being better, we're not going to just let some madmen company come and throw, not that they're willing to throw us millions of dollars or anything like that, but we're not going to sell out like that. Like, we are speaking, we have a voice. And so that is the hard part. It's like, who do you go and approach to that's going to share, that's going to have the exact values? I mean, it's not hard to find somebody that has good values. Like, lots of people have good values, but that's willing to put the money and the risk in, and what we're doing right now with MJ is a really cool thing. My idea was always to have it be a lifestyle brand, and without selling out. So I won't, but without having a million brands, that you're advertising to, and whatever. But the idea was so we've got this beautiful magazine. Who the hell starts a print magazine in 2018? I mean, but it's like, I don't know, how do you get it out there? And so we really, we had some in Barnes and Noble for a while, and that was great, except for the fact that they put them with the gay magazines in the men's section.
Seriously?
Yeah. So
in the men's section?
Yeah, literally next to the gay magazines.
What were they even thinking?
And I think I think gay guys would really like MJ Lifestyle, but they're not the target demographic. But so it was just a bust. I mean, really, if you want to be seen at Barnes and Noble, first of all, people are going to buy you because they know about you. And if they don't know about you, they're not going to buy you. They're not going to look for you. And if you're not paying an extra $12,000 to be in the front row, they're also not going to see you or buy you. So, so we ended up pulling from that and really just going more specialized. And what we decided to do was, the print is very, very expensive. It's very expensive to print.
How much is it? I don't know the cost.
It depends on how many you order, but our costs are between.
But for me, if I would buy one,
$25. But yeah, I mean, it was like between $15,000 and $20,000 to print each issue, which is a lot. And so. And if you don't have advertisers, where are you going to get that money? So
impossible.
Yeah. So it has been. My photography career has kept this going. But so anyway, with that said, so we decided, we're like, okay, how can we really create this experience? And we really wanted events. We threw our first one in February. It was amazing. I'm glad we got it in before Corona. But we wanted to do more than that. And we came up with the idea to have a yearly membership where they get curated CBD wellness boxes each quarter of basically trial size products of our favorite products. So our first one went out, and it was it was just a cute little box. It was 6 products. Well, after that first one went out, it was all of our brands wanted to contribute. Our last one was 10 products. It was worth over $115 worth of products in there. And then on top of it, they get magazines and event perks. And we're working on a private online Facebook community where, it's just kind of consulting and stuff cannabis girl to girl talk. And so yeah, it's been really, really cool. And we're hoping that, maybe having the CBD subscription, because subscription boxes are very, very trending right now. Like if you like, yeah, well, even outside, like if you look at like the structure, because I am building an investment deck, and so you do have to come up with who are your competitors, and that was a little challenging for me because it depends on where I'm making the money, like which revenue stream it is. Kind of depends on who's the because there isn't a lot of high-end cannabis lifestyle magazines for real women.
Of course.
For real women, not for stoners, for real women, and for stoners, but also directed towards real women, mainstreaming cannabis, right? It doesn't look like a weed mag. And so, I'm hoping that, like, if you look at FabFitFun and their thing, it was like, they had even said, they're like, our goal was to have a swag bag, like what you get at an event, but you can't go to an event. So you order it and here it is. It's all these goodies. And it was like exactly what I was like thinking too, but obviously it was inspired by them. But so I kind of was like, I was researching through that to kind of get ideas on a business model of how things can maybe be, because we have to, in this industry, we have to pivot and we have to be able to be flexible. And so with that, it's kind of cool because first of all, CBD products are very expensive. Unfortunately, this is only available in the States because CBD, we can't send hemp out yet. Even like Canada, there's like crazy.
Really?
Yes. My girlfriend got like a very like threatening letter when she unknowingly sent her beautiful CBD products to Canada. So you can't, there's still so many so many lines. Like you can't bring weed over or anything from Canada. But even hemp CBD. So yeah, unfortunately we're only limited to the States right now, but it's a really great way. What I'm thinking is like CBD is expensive and people want to try it before they buy it. They want to see what all the fuss is about. They want to see what can potentially help them or their family member, or, like one of my girlfriends got her box and she had something to give to all of her family, she's like, oh, I gave this to my grandma, it's like, and that's cool, so I think we're trying to really develop more into, into a lifestyle brand is, but also taking things slow because you don't get from point A to Z in 2 days, apparently.
And not in this landscape.
Yeah.
Babe, thank you so much for sharing. I mean, I think all the questions that I had, you just like, seriously, I've been looking. You have just ticked them off.
Well, I hope it was like digestible and I didn't like go from like, I literally sometimes just go from thought to thought so quickly, and
I can do the same. Yeah.
Sometimes I can't always get my words out the way I want them to be, but hopefully I did. Especially when we're talking about something so important, and
also I think it's like thanks to like the Corona time when you have been talking a lot on Zoom. Like I guess I started my podcast as well during quarantine, so like this thing has you grow every time you talk, and you're like, because same here when I edit my podcast, I'm like, can you just shut up? Like, can you just think before you like ask the question so it comes out like in a nice question so you don't have to cut like 10 times, And you learn, You do. I'm trying to speak slower, but I do speak so fast. But yeah, it's just sometimes trying to... You do speak so fast.
Yeah. I'm a very, like I said, high energy. So I'm used to... But if I don't have that, then I'm just like, just chilling, doing my work, putting in SEO content into my website.
Oh my God, that is so boring. And I need to learn that. Oh la la. I know. It's just a nightmare, all those things sometimes. Oh, especially when you're alone.
It's a puzzle. Yeah. I just came out from the room of like being here for 3 days, and I like started cursing. My husband's like, what? I'm like, the thing I've been trying to do for 3 days, I just was told they can't do it. And I'm like, he's like, what? I'm like, I literally just set it all up to MJ, and now but actually I politely put up a stink, and they have a solution.
Oh, so. Good. I'm happy for you, because those things, not cool.
It's easy to get angry. And I did. I was like, what the fuck? I even told him to do it. It was in a chat. I'm all, Oh, well, that sucks, dude. Like, I'm not getting 2 accounts for this. You need to put 1.
Oh my God! Yes.
Yeah, I'm very honest and pretty transparent, and but I've got lots going on in this brain of mine, and there's just so much madness happening that I kind of sometimes just kind of can go off really easily. So I apologize for this being an extra long podcast.
Oh, no, I'm super happy for that. But also, I think, especially now with like everything that is going on, like, I think we're all like tipping our toes. Like, it's so emotional, and all these stories that you get. I mean, and like, again, the world is just a mess in so many ways.
Everybody is, but the fake news is like killing me right now, and it's making it very, very hard. Like we have something with we just had something with our NASCAR. They got rid of the Confederate flag. Thank God they got rid of the fucking Confederate flag. But then like 2 or 3 days ago, there was like literally a rope that looked like a noose hanging from the only Black NASCAR driver in his garage.
Seriously.
And so that obviously I reposted it. It was like upheaval. It's disgusting. And then it turns, claiming the news, it turns out that it looks just like a noose. It's a noose. They say it's a pole for a garage, but it's been up there since October of 2019. So it wasn't specifically because of him, but it's also just interesting. Like, no other garages had that, no other, and so it's just like, and you're just like, dude, damn it. And it's just like, not okay. Like, why is there a noose hanging from anything? Like, what? Nobody ever noticed that before. Like, and I even reposted something about like Home Depot, one of our brands, like the headline said, Home Depot, like founder donates billions of dollars, like donates his part of his $1 billion, like whatever, not inheritance, but earnings or whatever, into the Trump campaign. And I browsed the article. I did not read the entire article. I should have read the article before I reposted it. I reposted on Facebook. And I had a couple of interesting conversations with people about it because, again, I did not read the whole thing. And basically it said that he was, first of all, at the very end, it said, the very last paragraph said that he was retired from Home Depot in 2012 and is no longer affiliated with them. So there's no use to boycott fucking Home Depot. And then, which was automatically our initial instinct, was to boycott him. We're like, fuck this guy. And then in the middle of it, he's only giving $7 million of the fortune. The rest of the $1 billion of fortune is going to different charities. So, okay, as much as I despise the guy, $7 million, if it was billions of dollars to me, like the way I read into it, it was billions of dollars. I'm like, that's like terrorism in my eyes. Like billions of dollars is terrorism. But I get it. $7 million is still way too much, and it's still disgusting, but he has his right to donate. I mean, I guess he has his right to donate at any amount, but it's just because it was just, I overblew it, and it was, definitely mea culpa, like, not acceptable. And I learned, make sure you're reading this shit. Obviously, the Bubba, the NASCAR thing, and I reposted that as well, but that was something the whole nation, like, truly thought was a noose, and that was unacceptable. I mean, that's like not even unacceptable. It's just like, that's like punishable, I mean, that's a threat. That is a threat.
Who would go around and do that?
I guess it was hung up in October, and what they're saying is it was hung to pull down the garage closed. But I was reading the articles, and some of the NASCAR guys are like, that's like, it's a noose with like several coils around the thing. It's just maddening. And it's like, you really have to be so careful about fact checking, and the way that news is now, it's so hard to fact check. And so that's why, at least with MJ, and those were personal stuff that I put on my own personal page. I didn't, affiliate it with MJ, but at least with MJ, what we're really doing is sharing stories and sharing research. And there really isn't, you can't go wrong when you're sharing somebody's personal story, and you can't go wrong when you're sharing science. Science doesn't lie. So, I think obviously maintaining that, but of course there's going to be times where somebody doesn't like somebody we feature, and that's happened before, and sorry, and you know what? All of us are still in progress. None of us, I'm sure there's people who have negative things to say about me or, whatever. I don't know, and it's just.
And that's fine.
Like, I'm not going to judge somebody based on what you think about them.
But we are in that climate now, right? Like, everyone is taking a little thing so bad. And like you say, like the whole thing of fact checking, questioning stuff, question both yourself and if you hear someone say something that you don't like, well, question it. How come you think that way? Why do we have to scream? For example, that there's no reason for to have a conversation, because you will learn so much about that person and why he or she might have those, according to you, crazy opinions. But at least you will get out and see what this person actually thinks. Because you will never know anything if you just scream at the person. You will never get anything back.
With that one conversation about the Trump campaign, I had two conversations about it with people, and they were both sides. We were both very respectable. And I said, and we both DM'd each other afterwards. And I was like, because I will always admit when I'm wrong, if I'm wrong. And I was like, you're right. Great point, and then, whatever. And at the end, we both said to each other, thanks for being respectful. Thanks for keeping it respectful, because these are hard conversations to have, but everybody is entitled to their opinion, whether it's in your mind wrong or right. One of my biggest is abortion, and it's just like, okay, I don't understand why. I guess one of the things I really don't understand is I think a lot of people back Trump. I think because he's against abortion.
That's insane. I don't even know. How can you back such thing?
There's a lot of very religious people that and that's just my own perspective. I am not in any way, shape, or form trained in knowing anything political. But in my opinion, it's like, how could women follow him? How could, it's like, and what keeps coming up is abortion.
Yeah.
Why does that keep coming up? Why is that a fight?
Why is that even an issue?
No, that's what I mean. And it's like, and I think that's one of I think that is how he gets part of his community, part of his is because of that one little thing. I believe anyway, because he definitely, it's the conservative view, far, far conservative.
But what, do they feel like heroes, that they are protecting unborn children? Is that what they feel?
I guess, but at the same time, we have population problem. At the same time, we've got a homeless problem. First of all, it shouldn't matter how you got pregnant, but there's people who get pregnant from being raped, from being brutally raped. It's just, a friend of mine adopted a child, and his mother was raped, and it was her religion that stopped her from getting an abortion.
Oh my God. So she was forced as well by the family to put up.
But she did. But she did give this beautiful life to my friend, and my friend is forever grateful, and that's a wonderful, happy story, but that's her choice. And that was her choice, I also, people make their own decisions, and that's how it should be, and simple as that. This is my body, and it's, I actually had to have I guess it would be, I had to have a DNC because I had a miscarriage, but I had to go through the process, and it's scary. it's very scary. Like just thinking about like that you have to go under and have something going on up there.
Yeah. Oof.
It's very scary.
And there's no one that wants to make an abortion. You just don't go and get pregnant like, let's get an abortion. Always wanted this. No.
I know. Nobody wants that. It's no. My whole world just comes crumbling down sometimes from my brain.
I know. And I think when we are so invested in like these, let's say, injustices, there are sleepless nights. I definitely understand the saying, ignorance is a bliss, even though personally I would never want to live in that ignorance because that doesn't make me feel alive. Like understanding the complexities and the sorrows that we have in life, that is what also makes me want to go on and change things, you know? And I think it's the same with you. Instead of living in this bliss where, things looks pretty nice and you maybe feel like a hero by supporting Trump into the anti-abortion laws, you know? So you might feel good about that, but that is ignorance. It is ignorance. You can be as religious as you want, but I don't know if you can really back that up at 2020.
It's very hard. It's very challenging. We were with friends the other night and a conversation got challenging. Let's just say that.
Oh, okay, yeah. Different opinions.
Yeah, because you just don't get it. I do not understand why anybody would back him.
From a European point of view, I mean, for me, it's very hard to see. Of course, that is the good part, I guess, with the United States as well, that anyone can become a president. I just don't understand how the fuck he managed to get there when there's so many people. How is it possible?
How did we not find somebody better than that? Yeah, because he has money. It's because he has money.
But there's so many other people with money. Like how was he the only choice back then? And
I know there's negative stuff about Hillary too. I get that. But I think for women in general, it was a pretty big stab to the heart. It became very personal because of the way that he treats and talks about women, and about the way he spoke about his competitor, or whatever you call it when they're going against each other. I think a lot of us are very, very scared. This is just a year that hopefully so much awful stuff has happened that we can end this horrificness and rise, lift each other and share love, be loving, be kind. I know that like the pandemic has made people be farther away from people, or covered us from smiling even with our masks on, but we can still be kind. We can still show ways of being kind. And
it's not hard.
No, it isn't. I love being kind. I love helping people. I don't know why. I like being a good person.
Same.
I can be a bitch too, but I just really like to make people happy. And so, and maybe that's from, I don't know, being a waitress. Maybe I earned it from my mom. I don't know. But that's what I do.
Yes. Oh my God, babe. We could go on for a lot more. Like, I would love to talk to you about more about the abortion. No, it's amazing. I'm so happy. It's just that I'm starting getting hungry.
I know. My kids knocked on the door 3 times. And he's being very good about it, though. He's being very quiet. He's like, Mom.
I didn't even hear it. And I have a very sensitive, so very nice. Super respectful, very kind. Yes.
I wouldn't go with respectful, but yes, I've got him trained.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining my podcast. It was super inspiring talking to you, and I'm very happy.
Oh, good. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Be blessed.
Mwah. Bye, babe.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe to my social channels and rate this podcast. And if you would like to support me a little bit extra, it would really mean the world to me. So check out my Patreon profile that I linked in the episode description. It's all thanks to your support that I can continue talking, writing, recording, and making more cannabis content for you and our amazing community. Have an awesome day and lots of love.